And my inspiration for writing the book is really because I want to give a perspective to parents on parenting. You know, Les Brown says that you cannot appreciate the picture when you're in the frame. And so I have the privilege and the opportunity as someone standing outside of the picture of parenting, to give a perspective on parenting child leaders, on developing leadership potential within children. And so I stand outside the frame, and I'm talking about the frame of parenting, and I'm able to give a perspective to parents on developing their children's leadership potential. I believe that because that there's a need for an approach, a revision to our approach in parenting, that there's need for more views, including mine, on the subject. I believe that this book is needed in the society today. And I believe that parents could use it as one of their many tools in the daily experience of parenting. For example, in one chapter, I make a correlation between the relationship of a golfer and a caddy, and a parent and a child. And a parent could use the example there on a golfer and a caddy to mirror how he walks with his child as a golfer and a caddy spend intimate time with each other. A golfer needs a caddy because the golfer relies on the caddy's advice, relies on the caddy's counsel. And in the same way, parents could draw inspiration on how they could be such a great support to their children. In times when probably all the best experience is not working, I believe that this book could provide some clues in dealing with some of the challenges that parents face in the experience of parenting. A child leader, well, that's an interesting question. I coined that phrase when I was penning this book, when I was trying to present a fresh case on parenting leaders. And really, a child leader is someone who is involved in leadership, but who would be legally considered a child. So I was a child leader from the age of 13 or so when I was in the Trinidad and Tobago Cadet Force. Then at about age 17, I was co-president in the Young Leaders Program for the Arima Senior Comprehensive School. And we came second in the country. We were doing a poverty eradication exercise. And so it's really any child who's involved in leadership. That is a child leader. I love this question. Well, to begin with, this book was written by an author who has no biological children. And that makes it very unique because I am presenting a perspective as a child and as a leader, and of course now as a young person who is still involved in leadership. And that is a very significant difference because I have had the opportunity to take care of other person's children for a number of years, to have responsibility for other person's children, and to see as well the impact that parenting has had on children. In addition, I'm a Caribbean author. In fact, when you look at a number of the bookshelves and authors who are writing on family life, parenting, relationships, of course a lot of them are from the USA and UK and other markets. But I am bringing a perspective and an experience from right here in the Caribbean. And that makes it unique. That makes it different. And finally, what also causes the book to be special is that I share as well, without fear and shame, my faith perspective. I believe that there are principles and truths in the Bible, in the Word of God, that can be applied, that are even universally applicable, and that could benefit any parent. Transformation? Definitely. But transformation really starts with a choice. You see, the person reading the book, a parent, a youth worker, a guardian, aunt and uncle would need to make a deliberate decision, an intentional decision to apply what they have read in the book. I mean, the book has over 160 pages, 70 pages. But if you read the book and don't apply anything, transformation will not happen. So I believe transformation will take place, but only when the person who's reading it decides, I am going to apply to my life what I have read. I believe that parents should purchase this book because you could never have too much information. I believe that knowledge is gained throughout our lives. You could have 4 children, and I'm sure that there's still something that you would want to learn about parenting. You could probably now be starting to have children or thinking about having children. Well, you're even in a more critical place and need to have as much information as possible. You also want to purchase this book because we are in a need today, a need for effective leadership. And in order for that to happen, parents need to spend the time to invest in the potential of their children. I love this question. When we talk about cultural relevance and a global perspective, we're talking about being able to present the principles of this book to persons from various backgrounds. And I believe that the principles shared can be applied and can be shared with persons of various ideologies and philosophies. As I said earlier, I have a faith perspective that is heavily rooted in the Bible. But those principles can be applied and can be used by anyone. For instance, one proverb says, the tongue has the power of life and death. That principle can be applied by anyone. Any parent can appreciate that if they speak positive, then it is likely that they will encourage and see the returns of positive improvement and growth in their children. And so I believe that the principles in the book can be applied and can fit within your cultural context. Since I wrote this book, I have right now a roughly, let's say 25 book ideas, book concepts. And I'm beaming actually to get into them. And I started one and had to stop. And of course, yes, I'm planning to write many more books and of course be a full-time author. I believe that we are in a leadership crisis. Whether it's in the Caribbean, whether it's in Europe, the Americas, I believe that all our nations are struggling to find leaders who could bring positive change. And what we spend most of our time doing is coming out of one crisis and going into another, chaos after chaos. Oftentimes, it is unnecessary, but because of the leadership structures that we have, we find ourselves in a cycle often of confusion. And so I am urging you to get this book, and not only that, but to read and to develop your own leadership and that of your child. And mentoring is something that I cannot stress as being so important. If you as a parent would commit to being a role model, an effective example for your child, you would save not only your child, but those who your children will influence.